Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me in my studio today. I'm going to be sharing with you a really quick and easy sketch using some Tombow water-based brush markers. These are a new product that I've had for a little while, and I really, to be honest, have been intimidated and a little bit afraid to try them. I haven't ever really used markers very much, but I've seen some other YouTubers using them and adding water to create a watercolor effect. So I really wanted to just experiment and play and try and see if I could get the same effect. So I started with a couple different light oranges, and then I moved on to using a red. And I'm just pre-sketching first. I really have no idea how these are going to react. I love using the Neocolor 2 water-soluble wax pastels. They're really easy to use. So I kind of want to see how these work similarly or different than the Neocolor 2s or to watercolor pencils. Once I had my flowers drawn, I just started drawing in some background leaves and stems using yellow and green. And again, I'm just really being very loose. I don't have a reference photo. I'm just kind of drawing from something in my head. As far as composition goes, I like to have an uneven number of flowers when I do flowers, so either 3 or 5. And once I have the original outline of my flowers and my leaves, I'm just coming in with some different colors and experimenting and adding some filler. Now I'm going to activate my markers with a water brush. So this is a brush that has water in the handle. All you have to do is squeeze the handle and the water will come out and it activates the brush marker, and it looks like it's doing a pretty nice job. I was afraid that after it had sat for a while on the paper that it might not activate, but it is. It's still activating very nicely. I'm just filling in the general areas of the flower, and I try to pick up some of that red and add it to other areas, and that's called transferring color, and that's not really working so well. So as you can see, I'm tapping my brush from the red to the orange, and it's really not transferring that red very much. And that's something I really like to do with my Neocolor 2s because that works very well, and it just allows you to add some different values without having to pick up more color from either your brush or your marker. So that didn't really work too well. So I'm just going in and I'm activating the background a bit. It is bleeding out a little into the background, the red is, because that's the most intense color. And so I'm just adding water to my background and just kind of moving the water around and trying to add a little more color to the background. So one of the advantages to having the markers is that you don't need a palette, you don't need a paint pan. You can just, they're really easy to travel with, and all you need is your water brush and a paper towel. They are quite a bit brighter than if I was just going to be using regular watercolors or even the Neocolor 2. The Neocolor 2 can be intense, but you can dilute them down pretty much and get some softer colors by adding water. I don't think that these diluted too much. They faded a little bit and got a little softer, but not a lot. They're still pretty bright. So once I had my flowers activated, I didn't want to come back in and use a marker to add detail. So I'm using, these are Prismacolor colored pencils, and these are not watercolor pencils, so these will not activate with water. And I'm just adding some petals to my roses and adding a few more details. I want them to look a little more like flowers and less like just kind of fuzzy blobs. I do love a softer look, but I like to come back in later and add details to my paintings, either with colored pencils or ink markers sometimes. I could come back in with my brush markers, but I don't want to have really harsh lines. And unless I reactivate them again with the water brush, I'm going to have harsher lines. So I'm just finishing by adding some more expressive lines. I like a very loose and intuitive look, so I'm just experimenting and playing. I hope that you enjoyed watching my experiment with the brush watercolor markers today. And if you have some, I hope you'll try this process for yourself. Thanks so much for watching.